Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is June 7th, 2022. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Our first order of business is the minutes from 5:31.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Wetter?
I noticed on page 17, under Advisory Committee, Advisory Board updates,
Okay,
under that, the second paragraph says Wetter attended a Minnesota Recovery Connection meeting. It should be Minnesota Rural Counties,
okay,
MRC.
all right. And I also have a clarification. I think there's a couple of names that, have a little different spelling or whatever, and we can just, those are little just typos that we can go over. But on page 5 of 18, the second to the last paragraph, just to clarify, it says that Reinberger said that Buffalo Township's moratorium exempts out any application that was accepted and was pending by the county that would be add in their township. So it's just a clarifications. It wouldn't be the whole, yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Ketchmark.
And on page 5, there were a couple names that I noticed just from past dealings and meetings weren't spelled correctly, so I relayed those to the
Yep.
minute taker already.
Okay, appreciate that. Anything else? Otherwise,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
all right. Motion made by Commissioner Delight. Is there a second?
I'll second with the corrections.
With a question? Oh, correction, with the corrections.
With the
Again here.
corrections. I'm sorry. I'm not speaking up very.
Second
Ask
by
Commissioner
Commissioner,
Vetch.
second by Commissioner Wetter. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. Review and approval of agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add on, under the items for consideration, the gravel work group discussion, makeup of it, and then also the I-94 Coalition DC trip as well.
So that would be 11 and 12 under,
Yep.
or wait, under,
Or
for
two- one and- or
consideration.
two
1
and
and 2,
three.
okay. All right.
And I'll make a motion to, if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Anyone else?
I'll second it.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The agenda is approved. Consent agenda. Would anyone like anything removed for further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark?
thank you. Under A, Administration, number 1, and it's Roman numeral 3, the request to approve to fill the position of Risk Management Specialist for the purpose of background and justification of discussion here.
All right. Is there a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with item A, Roman numeral 3, removed for further discussion.
all right.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Commissioner Ketchmark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this goes back to late last year, early this year. The board had a lot of discussions about this particular position amongst others, which included the discussion of adding 2 assistant administrators in Wright County. And the majority voted to approve the hiring of the 2 assistant administrator positions with the condition that we wouldn't fill one of the administration assistant positions and the assistant risk manager position. And now, just a few months later and before budget time, we find that this position is up for approval again. So I'm wondering what has changed. I would still like to stick with the board's original decision with this, because what's the point of saying we're gonna hold off on filling only to see it come up a few months later after we approve the hiring of 2 assistant administrator positions with salaries well into the 6 figures?
Commissioner Ketchmark, yeah, I appreciate that. This is basically to send this to personnel, but unless there's a broader discussion on that, that doesn't mean we're approving anything or they're approving anything. That would be sending it to personnel for discussion, but I don't know, Administrator Kelly, if you'd have anything to add to that?
Yes, if I could, just a clarification, do agree, everything, your recollection, Commissioner Ketchmark, is correct. We did have a chance to briefly discuss this morning. So we did hold the admin specialist open, the risk management specialist as well, due to the reorg and proposal that was discussed in December. That was left as if we wish to pursue either of those 2 positions in the future, it would be referred to Personnel Committee. We've been working up some additional information that we prepared to present at the committee. Whether that's committee of the whole or whatever avenue you want, just knew that that was the avenue if we were to pursue it. So brought it forward on those channels for the board to consider.
Madam Chair, I have a question. Does staff or any board member know of other counties that work with more than 1 risk manager?
I haven't done any research on that.
I haven't done any research on it as well. As I'm thinking a lot of that information is going to come forward in the personnel committee. The intent, from my understanding, is that you're going to illustrate the caseload, the risk of where we're at with what we have from our current staffing to having more, the pros and cons with that, and then also the budget to date as to where we are, and with this position in there, what are the ramifications? I'm believing that's what's going to be presented to us at that personnel committee or committee of the whole.
Correct. You summarized it well. You may recall we presented this in budget for 2022's budget. Obviously, time has passed since that, so felt it was prudent to update the information, the support that brought forth at that time. Certainly, with the changes in the reorg, there's changes in the finance, positions that have been eliminated and duties that have been changed and positions that have been added. So I thought it was only appropriate to look at the overall picture as we bring this forward, and just looking for the forum to do that, so.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Commissioner.
can you refresh me on who's on the Personnel Committee?
Right now, that is Vetch and Leiden.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Vetch?
Commissioner Ketchmark, I respect the idea that, wanting to be diligent and making sure that we're not overstaffing, but I don't think we should blanketly just say no. I think we have to hear out all requests and weigh out the pros and cons and give staff the opportunity to present the information and let the decision be based on the merits of what is presented to us.
Correct. And, depending on what the Personnel Committee recommends, it comes to the board for approval after that. So I think definitely there's been a lot of reorg in the last couple of years, and it's to step back and look at the whole picture, and, okay, you don't fill another administrative assistant position perhaps, but maybe you look at an assistant for the risk manager, but we don't have all that information yet, so I think it definitely always deserves, to be looked at and to listen to see what's going on. But, yeah, we're a rather large growing county, so we need to consider all those things.
Madam Chair, I appreciate the feedback. I just wanted to address it here first because it was a group effort in the first place to
Right,
get
yep.
where we got today. And I just have, being here all the time, I just don't know what conditions would have changed here to warrant that. And so I'd make a motion that we decline, we refer the other 2 items, but item 3, we decline pursuing any further and routing to personnel for any further discussion. That would be my motion.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Ketchmark. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that
I'll
motion?
second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wetter. More discussion? All right. So the motion is made to discard that 3rd request. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried, or doesn't carry, sorry, fails.
I'll make a motion to send item Roman numeral 3 to Personnel Committee on June 21st.
All right,
I'll
motion made by
second that.
Commissioner Leiden, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye,
All right, motion carries.
and I'll
Thank
make
you.
a motion to accept the consent agenda then with that change.
We already did.
We did that one first.
We did
Okay.
We did everything minus that, yep.
All right, so that one's done then.
So we're good.
Okay.
We're good, thank you. All right, so very unusual, we have no timed items today. So we will move on to items for consideration.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
One quick thing.
Yes.
It's stated on here, the Personnel Committee is on June 21st. It's actually June 22nd.
22nd, yep.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're right. Thanks for that clarification. All right,
Yeah, Lee was still on vacation time when he put those dates on there.
so Administrator Kelly, we've got a number of topics.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We have a number, 10 items listed on this workshop. I should also mention, had discussion with Commissioner Ketchmark this morning regarding the Fair Board and some work that's done out there. We have a very long list here. I would recommend that we prioritize the topics. I've had the opportunity to speak with a few staff that indicated to me some of these items could be laid over to a future meeting in order to meet the deadline, knowing we have a committee of the whole with BKV also at 11 o'clock that day. So I would recommend in discussions with Commissioner Ketchmark that we add the fair item. They would like to come and discuss some of the logistics of improvements to the bathrooms areas out there. They've been in discussions with county staff on the best way to achieve that and what the county would be willing to participate in on that. Schedule meetings as needed. That's kind of a standing item if something comes up to make sure we can keep business moving forward. We've already had some discussion on the government center rental. I think we could lay that over for future discussions. Additionally, with the government cafe space, just as a quick update, the survey is going out, should be either today or tomorrow from the Wellness Committee. So it might be best even to lay that over in the sake of time to the July meeting. Speaking with Elizabeth, I believe we could also move the ARP update, and I'd hate to short time on the community health report. So in order to move that forward, speaking also with Mr. Mattice regarding the ash borer discussion, that is not time sensitive. We could also consider moving that forward to July. So with that, I guess I would remain with item 1. Item 3, item 6, which would be the budget forecast. Talk about item 8, which is the board meeting schedule, agenda and process and timeline. And then pick up 10 and then include the fair board item, if that would be acceptable. I can go through those again. Sorry, I skipped around a little bit, but my recommendation would be to prioritize our time, knowing we have some additional meetings that day as well.
So we've got,
Can we, Madam Chair? So you were saying, like the item number 10, hybrid and flex work basic expectations. You want to push that off?
I'd like to have that discussion sooner than later. That's been an ongoing discussion. It'd be good to have,
So you do have that one.
I would like to
I
include that
didn't
one
see
for the
you- I didn't
14th.
hear you say that one, so that's why,
Yeah.
just wanted to verify it.
yep, that one I did here, I might have missed one.
I mean, another option too is we could break one or more of these items out into a committee of the whole. If you want to do the ARP items,
I think even with 6, okay, we're trying to get 2 hours and you're trying to get 6 of these. Okay, the first one is whatever, 5 minutes, but I mean, Central Minnesota Council on Aging, 15, 20 minutes.
yep, and they're at the 10 a.m.
Then you're
slot.
going into budget forecast, that's another 15, 20 minutes. You look at the that one can easily be 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how deep we get into the conversation and how nuanced we get into it. The hybrid flex work one, it could get quite lengthy.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think if we don't make it through there, nothing's saying that we can't schedule a meeting of the whole
Exactly.
after or during that time.
I agree. We can send that to committee if we find that we've spent a lot of time and sometimes things surprise you. You think they're going to take a long time and they don't, and the other way around, so. All right.
Well, I'll make a motion to send those items we discussed to County Board Workshop
Workshop.
on June 14th.
All right.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Glyden, second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any more discussion?
Yeah, nothing says we can't start at 6:30 in the morning either.
All right,
Right.
I'm fine with that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The workshop items are set. So we'll do committee minutes and then your 2 items. So Commissioner Glyden, our committee of the whole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee of the whole met on June 1st to discuss school resource officers, SRO requests, and supervision span of control for the unit. The sheriff was present along with some of his group. And it was, majority was, discussion was for the additional school resource officers with the Howard Lake Winstead School District. And it's a special, and I'm trying to find it here, but it's for the special ed area of the county, the school districts over in that area. I believe there's 3 different schools involved in it.
Yeah, consortium.
Discussion was made regarding a handout they had provided us. The baseline salary that is required for these additional positions. There was a lot of discussions regarding these SROs. Sheriff Derringer would prefer that if we allowed this SRO to go forward, which we really have never denied any school district from having an SRO. They intend on paying the same as every other school district. The discussion also went on to having a full-time sergeant because there's such a large amount of SROs. We currently have 13 SROs and 1 DARE instructor. So by adding this one, it'll be 14 SROs and 1 DARE. Right now, there's only 1 supervisor for all of those. So he had requested to have a second supervisor for that group. We also had a discussion regarding hiring of additional deputies. We currently have 7 deputies out on medical leave. We've had 7 retirements so far this year, and we've had 10 deputies actually leave the county. And some went to other police departments or sheriff's departments, highway patrol, and some just got out of the market altogether and decided to do something else. So we recommended approving 3 additional deputy positions where right now we have never had a full complement of the deputies. So this just allows the sheriff's office to accept somebody into the program And maybe at some point we'll be fully staffed, but it gives them a little bit of flexibility. Get somebody in, train them, and somebody retires, so you're shorthanded all the time. And they have been working with job fairs. They've been doing ride-alongs, trying to get, I want to say kids, but younger people interested in becoming a deputy and taking those classes for a peace officer. So the recommendation was to approve 3 more overcompensated positions, bring the total overcompensated positions to 8, and approve the additional of an SRO sergeant position and approve 1 additional SRO position. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. And I think that there's one change I think we can make, and that's in the second paragraph. It's a long paragraph, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 8. It says, she did say that it was still a budgetary issue. I think we can just remove that sentence because it's not, if everyone approves of that change.
Where
It's-
are you seeing that
It's
one?
right here.
The third paragraph, then.
It's there.
Yeah, third paragraph.
Yep. Is everyone okay with that, removing that sentence?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's still,
approve it.
spent $0, so then the next one says, it's still a budgetary issue, but it's,
Madam Chair, and just for clarification, I mean, it could, if for some reasons there were a lot of people for a short period of time, they could be over their top amount, but generally overall, that hasn't been the case. But this gives the sheriff the latitude to deal with the ebbs and flows of recruitment. So if there is a good pool of applicants, he
Right.
can grab as many as he possibly can to fill potential opening spots at that time or ones that are coming up within the months ahead.
and maybe we could just say, Ackman did say there was a potential budgetary impact. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine by me.
Potential, so far, it's always been.
Yeah, we've
It's always,
always been shorthanded, so
Right,
we've
we've
never
always-
been
we've
fully
never been,
staffed, so it
right,
hasn't been
exactly,
a budget
so.
issue.
all right. Accept those changes, that change? Motion maker and seconded? Okay. Any more discussion? So your motion is to approve the minutes and the recommendation.
Correct.
All right,
With
Any other-
with the 2 changes,
the 2 changes. Any other,
1 change.
yeah.
Half
with
a
the
change.
With the change. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The minutes are approved. All right, Commissioner Vetch.
So, talking with the gravel work group, I kind of wanted to bring a backup proposal, at least for like placements of spots for this work group. Looking at putting 2 commissioners from the board here on there, looking to get 2 township members. I'm not necessarily saying that they have to be a township supervisor necessarily, because they could put somebody from their planning commission from that piece. Looking to also get somebody who works in the industry, an industry expert. And then also getting 2 members from the planning commission as well. And I think that would give us a pretty good rounded out group of what we would need to get a sufficient recommendation and to be able to do the research from it.
So essentially a 7-panel group,
Yep.
7-member panel?
Yes, and just for clarification, this is kind of a citizens panel is what it's kind of is being orchestrated at. So there's no voting on this group. It's just they're
Right.
basically offering comments to come back to the board with a recommendation for adoption.
And as far as soliciting people from the townships, if we're are we looking for essentially the townships that have the most gravel at this point, or?
Well, I would say that because there is townships that don't have gravel, so I would say that one requirement, we need those townships to have gravel pits within them would probably be a reasonable request.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark?
thank you. And I don't know if you're looking for specific names now, because I did get a call yesterday from somebody that's a township officer and also on the planning commission that would be interested. But do you want to talk another time about specifics? or-
Yeah, I think what we'll do is, I don't know if, how we want to go about it, if we want to submit it to staff, otherwise I'll collect them and I'll bring back, here's what we have, and we can kind of get a placement at the workshop. I hate, because we need to get this ironed out, so maybe I should have added that to the workshop to get the solidified so we can have a first meeting on it. Or do we have another committee somewhere date that we can put this on to get?
No, Madam Chair, I guess I would recommend that we bring it back and discuss it as part of the schedule additional meetings at the workshop. If you have a
Okay.
group that's brought together, maybe we could agree on the players at that point and schedule the meeting at that date.
That'd be good.
Sounds good.
Madam Chair?
Yeah. Commissioner.
I was going to bring this up at the Planning Commission meeting on Thursday of this week for discussions. And I had a feeling that member would probably have an interest. I would like to see two businesses on, and the reason is that the mining is changed so dramatically over the years. I mean, there's some of them that they really don't mine anymore, but they bring in a lot of other stuff and concrete, and they break it up, and there's a lot of different things. And blacktopping is another thing that we need to have some discussions regarding. So I would prefer to see two businesses on this, and that's just my suggestion. Just because things are so varied throughout the county on what these gravel mines are doing.
True.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ketchmark?
And it was kind of interesting, I guess, to some point, I'm kind of disappointed that nobody from the gravel industry showed up for the public hearing when there was discussion about potentially regulating gravel mining. So if we're going to pick businesses, you can go by on paper where they have the biggest yields or pay the biggest tax, but they should be really someone that isn't just going to fill a seat because they're in that business, but someone that's really active and wants to be involved. And we didn't see a good showing when that was a big step in the process to do the moratorium. So just a consideration when we're picking that maybe the biggest yielder maybe isn't the best choice. We want someone that's conscientious and wants to really be an active member.
And Madam Chair, to Commissioner Ketchmark's, I don't want this to be, we had way too much of industry representation in the solar side of it, and it ended up making the discussions very challenging and complicated, and it almost went in the direction that was opposite of what the intent of the group was to do. And I'm trying to avoid that as well, because I'm cautious to not get us to have that 16-member panel that we had before, because I feel if we had too many of the operators, that we're going to have to add equally a number of citizen representation there as well, because ultimately it was the room full of people and the townships that were driven by citizens' complaints and concerns that brought us to this moratorium. So I want to make sure that we are, but I also understand we want to have, we don't want to be overly restrictive, and we have to have an understanding of how these pits operate, and they are the firsthand people that can help give us some of that information with that combined with staff.
Which is the reason why I prefer to have two
I would say,
businesses on.
And I think too is fair because they, have, as you said, there's a lot of different operations going on. So it's not just mining the gravel and taking it away. It's they're bringing in other products and that kind of thing, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I know we wanted to start having these meetings in July because of, or hopefully by that time, Planning and Zoning will have their full complement of employees so that we can get this going. I do want to be one of the board members since I'm also on the Planning Commission. I felt that was probably a good fit. But since I'm only going to be around till the end of this year, I'm hoping that will put some priority on getting this thing done before the end of the year so that we only have a 6-month moratorium at the most.
Yeah,
So otherwise, it's going to take a lot longer to bring somebody else up to speed again.
true.
So that's maybe to everybody's advantage to move this thing along a little faster too.
And, I mean, my hope is that we can meet in June still, so
I kind of doubt that.
get it going.
Planning and zoning, I think, prefers to wait until July, like I said, until they're
All right.
fully staffed.
Okay,
So just to recap, we were going to go with 2 board members. We're going to go with 2 township citizens. I'm going to leave it pretty open on that side of it, with a gravel pit within their community. And then we're going with 2 industry members, 2 planning commission members. That pretty much rounds out our citizen panel for it.
So the township members, how do we want to do that? Get the townships to put a recommendation in? Because we're going to leave that up to the townships to decide that, right?
who they want to send.
It would be, we can do that, but you're definitely not going to get this done by December, because by the time you get through their township boards and how infrequently some of them meet, you wouldn't be, I'm just saying, you're talking about first meeting in August then, probably, in all reality. I mean,
Again, we can put it out there for the townships and those that want to get the applicants in. And if they don't have an applicant in, whether they have a board meeting or not, a township board meeting,
They wouldn't have on, yeah.
that's up to them. They can always hold special meetings. So to move things along, I think there's no reason. The township board should be the ones that suggest who they want to have as members.
I agree. I just more of saying that because you've already missed the first Monday where some of them meet, so some of them don't meet till the first Monday again in July, but which pushes back because of the 4th of July. So now they might be missing the second recommendation. I'm just saying you're not going to get a because to give every township an opportunity to have at least one meeting before we close the recommendation date.
Yeah, I know Buffalo meets the second Monday, so and Chatham meets the second Tuesday, so,
And
there
again-
are,
Most of them
it-
do. So
yeah.
But again, nothing says that they can't hold a special meeting if they want to.
that is true.
It's a priority to them. We're good. I'm afraid we'll have so many recommendations or applications since we're only allowing 2, and with all the different townships that have gravel pits, I think we'll be overwhelmed with how many
And I think we can-
applicants we get.
I think we can put it 2-3 just based on if there's,
You could.
just so that we get a good cross-section
Yeah.
of districts, because we might be, Commissioner Hewsome, Catchmark, and myself have most of them, so we might need to be.
So do I.
You have some in Crockford, so
Yeah,
we maybe have to look
Rockford
at it as,
Township
you know,
has,
Yeah.
Again, as far as board members, who's the other board member that have an interest? Commissioner Ketchmark, do you have an interest in being on it?
No, not, I think Commissioner Vetch was more vested in this from,
and I'm happy to serve on there, so.
Okay.
So we've
So
got basically our
framework, so we probably
Yeah.
won't be scheduling anything next week, because by the time we solicit to the townships, it's gonna take it, we'll do it at a board meeting down the road, probably in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
What's that, to send it out to them?
No, we'll send them out ASAP to the townships as soon as after this meeting. But as far as getting appointments, it'll be in 2 or 3 weeks at a
Yep.
board meeting.
Do you want admin to send it out or planning and zoning?
I would say we'll go with administration, just because I think from capacity wise.
All right. I would look for a motion to move forward with getting,
I'll make a motion to start working with the gravel
all right. Motion
group
made by Commissioner-
on who we're gonna have as members.
Okay.
But I
Motion-
agree
second
with
that.
2 and 3 for our township members.
Sounds good.
Motion made by Commissioner Delight. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Vetch. Any more discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Regarding the businesses, do we want to have planning and zoning send that out to any interested businesses? Or do we just want to handpick them? I'd like to see kind of an application process for those that actually have an interest compared to, regarding Commissioner Ketchmark's suggestion.
Barry, would you like to step up to the podium and comment.
Sure will. We've had some internal discussions between Scott and myself. Scott works really closely with the industry. It might be a thing where it's more, we'll give you a list of names that would be more recommendations on operators that we know that would be good for this role.
Okay,
That'd
All
be
right.
great.
Yeah,
sounds good.
good.
All right, thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Barry.
All right,
Madam Chair, just a comment on the commissioners. I think it's good representation for Commissioner Delight, since he's on the Planning Commission and willing to serve, and the majority of the contested pit locations are north of Buffalo. And for me, it just seemed like an odd position for me to trot in from District 5 to these heavily contested areas and be well received with whatever message it is. So it seems reasonable that the representation would come from that area. So I think that's good. And Barry must have a database from just the basic companies that remit gravel tax as a starting point for who we've got for a list of businesses. So I think we should have a good list of people working in the county.
yep, I agree. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the work group will be formed. And then the Washington DC
So.
Lion, Commissioner Vetch.
Yes, so are making a really big push for this transportation grant to get the gap funding from the Albertville to Monticello, which is that final gap that does not have 3 lanes, go to 3 lanes, to 2 lanes, back to 3 lanes. I'd like to get this project finally put to bed, and they're really looking to get a strong representation from the group. We have a lot of good meetings with the Federal Department of Transportation, as well as a good cross-section of the Congress out there as well. And looking at where we can get it done, we feel very optimistic on this grant. So looked at previous discussion, looking at either staff or a board member, or just a board member looking to get 1 or 2 people to attend this group. So talked with administration, so looking at one of the 3 of you.
Yeah, certainly a couple of us willing to go. Clay was the one that probably came to mind for discussion to go for the group to Washington. You'll have to refresh me on the dates. I know it is a July date, but feel that this is very important for the county. This is something that we've been working towards for many years. Certainly this isn't a process that can get done in a short amount of time. So our continued efforts towards this, I think, are important, and I think it is wise for the county to invest the time and effort to send people to represent ourselves. So.
And what were the days?
12th, 13th, 14th.
All right, so, admin, you have someone, did you want a commissioner to go?
We're looking to see if anybody was interested in joining on the group there out there.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith?
and Commissioner Vetch has been in a lot of these meetings, I'm sure. Is there any community member or township or city leader that's really been heavily involved in that portion that would maybe attend with you? I don't know how your schedule fits in for this, but there must have been a lot of local involvement from the community too at these meetings.
There is, and the mayor of Monticello is working out to see if he can make it work. I know the city of Monticello, their administrator is going. St. Michael, I believe, has a council member and their administrator going. They're trying to get from all the members along the corridor to get the representation out there on this case.
Is anybody from Albertville?
Yes, I believe Adam is going.
Oh, okay.
So does it fit in your schedule to go? or-
I am.
you
I was looking
willing to
to.
go?
If none of you are interested, I was going to get myself preliminary. I'm working on a few calendar things to make it work. But if nobody else is interested,
Yeah, if you're willing to go, I mean, you've been, heavily involved in the transportation
Yeah,
end of things, and so
yeah, Madam Chair, and also with CMRP,
right,
I would be happy to go, but in all honesty, I prefer somebody that's going to be,
here next year.
yeah. But if it doesn't work out for Commissioner Vetch, I
You'd
can
be willing to
go.
go? Okay.
So,
great. Thanks for getting the secondary because I'm still ironing some
Yeah.
things out, and if I can't,
Yeah.
then
Yeah, that'd be good. Good to have you as a backup.
and I'm sure the city administrator, Bott from St. Michael will be there because he's on the I-94 coalition, and he'd be a good person to learn from on some of the things that they've done with I-94 to help us figure out a new bridge crossing in that Monticello, Clearwater Township area.
And I think that'd be a great reason for Clay to be there to help get some of that foundation as we try to make that big transition into that, finding the money to build.
Yes. All right, well, I would look for a motion to.
I'll make a motion
approve.
to approve the DC trip for Clay and administration and myself / Dahl Leiden.
All right,
I'll second.
motion made by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're already at advisory committee, advisory board updates. Commissioner Wetter, would you like to start?
Okay. Wasn't very busy, but June 1st, went to the policy committee meeting on the North Fork Crow River One Watershed, One Plan. And we mainly just reviewed the expenditures and requests for the implementation funding. And if you remember, this watershed was a pilot program. And so when they did their original plan, that was back in 2017. And so they covered so many different things that it's not a real what should I say, usable plan. So what they're going to try to do is go over that plan and try to figure out like what are some of the basic needs and redo that plan. So that's what they're in the process of doing right now.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right. Commissioner Vetch.
So last week, kind of recapping, I guess I'll start out with when I left early to go to the energy transition. And maybe this is what you guys, from your perspective on how you want me to present some of this information, because there's a lot of information that I could present. We're meeting 3 to 4 times a month with this group. And it's just more of a, is this something maybe you want me to do at a workshop at a date and just give little tidbits right now? I don't want to take up a great deal of time on these ones trying to.
You know, if you get emailed handouts for them, that might be a way for us to, go over the information at our, when
Sure.
we're able to, but certainly any just summaries that you'd like to
Yeah,
give.
I'll kind of go just real quick on some of the big pieces of it. So the last meeting, we were at the Becker plant, and there was an opportunity to tour Sherco. There was a presentation by Will, I'm going to mispronounce his name, I think it's Sufert, who's the executive secretary for the Public Utilities Commission. So kind of giving people an understanding of the integrated resource process and the certificate of need and the permitting and how that system all works with these power plants. And then also there was a discussion and a presentation from Cindy Winland, who is from the Community Transition Planning, in kind of talking about the Pennsylvania plan, which is a kind of what we're hoping to create something like that in Minnesota for energy transition communities, trying to create a playbook to basically or adopt a recommendation for a policy report to the legislators, so we're kind of reviewing that Pennsylvania plan and kind of trying to see what things apply here, what things do not apply. And then we also have our updates from our variety of our 5 respective work groups: the community engagement work group, the economic diversification work group, the reuse of asset work group, the tax base financial assistance work group, and then the workforce group as well.
That's
So
complex.
there's a lot of moving pieces to it.
Wow. Yeah.
And the more you dig into it,
Yeah.
the answers you get from a lot of the agencies are it depends.
Yeah.
On how
Wow.
things play out. So, in trying to make the answer to no longer be it depends.
Yeah.
And getting a definitive answer.
Wow. Yeah.
Madam Chair, did we get this on the approved board and committees for your per diems? I don't remember we discussed, but if you're saying you're meeting 3 and 4 times a month, Shouldn't we get that on that list for the per diem? Is it that,
I don't know
Yeah,
what it
I-
was. Sorry. It's not on there, I don't believe, but it's,
I don't believe it is. I can verify the list, though.
well,
I mean, I'm not gonna fight you. I'd appreciate it. It takes a lot of time and mileage into
well,
it.
I
but-
think it's warranted. I think we probably should have looked at it sooner, but I didn't know the frequency of the meetings. But what is the process for adding that to the list?
I mean, we can simply do that as a consent agenda item to modify the list. We've done that recently with others. I think that's the easiest way to do that.
Okay.
If there's,
I agree. That should be, and
Okay.
I think that was kind of an oversight, that we didn't talk about that. We didn't realize the involvement either. When you
and I
when you
think
started, we didn't know if it
neither-
was gonna be
yeah.
like 4 times a year or what, but yeah, certainly that's warranted, so.
Other items that we met, Trailblazer, myself and Commissioner Dahlheden had a very good meeting at Trailblazer. We submitted our application to MnDOT with the same request as the previous year. No increases or decreases in our budgetary request for 5311 funding. Largely, we didn't feel we would want to make any expansion at this time, as we had a lot of open positions. And so anything that we would expand, we probably wouldn't be able to meet it anyways. So we're looking to at least get ourselves to be able to make ourselves whole in an operating budget with what we have currently. Also on discussion was the adoption of a pay schedule. Trailblazer for a number of years has been operating without any kind of pay schedule for any of its employees. It was kind of year to year in terms of what kind of range movement they would get, which has become a challenging from a hiring perspective. So from an agency wise, people not knowing where
What their
when-
future holds.
what their future holds, exactly. Especially because for a number of years there, a 3-year driver was making the same as a new driver because there wasn't much range movement. It was just a lot of COLA adjustments.
No, even a 5-year or 6-year.
Even exactly to that point. So with those pieces, and then we had the update on our software integration, which now going on multiple years is still not a great discussion because there isn't good software on the market for rural transit. So if you're a good software developer and you want to good at mapping, create some software for rural transit, you may have a potential buyer.
Multiple buyers.
Multiple buyers.
And then the bus issue too.
Yes, actually being able to get new
Get
buses.
new buses.
Get new buses. It keeps getting pushed out, and so we're actually taking our buses that we would deem them with over 200, 300,000 miles as no longer being viable for our system. We're actually giving them to even more rural systems to use because they are unable to get any new buses. So it's kind of keep passing the bus down. We've done the research on it with some of those buses for us, the amount of miles that we put on daily and the usage on them. Once they get to that 200,000 to 300,000 miles, it costs us way more to keep them on the road than.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, the ones we ordered, excuse me, the ones that we ordered for 2021, we may see in 2023.
Yeah, and that's hopeful. This is the second year that we've gotten pushed back further on those. So
So if you want to go into the bus manufacturing business too, there might be.
To it. Wow. All right, anything else?
I think that's what I got for right now.
All right. Administrator Kelly, I'll go that way and then come back.
Sure. Just more so a few items to remind the board of coming up in the next week or so. We do have our annual EDA meeting this Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Wanted to make sure that was on your minds, and we have the privilege of hosting the AMC District 5 meeting on Monday. Reminder of that. So just a few other things to point out. Sheriff is hosting an open house at their support building on Friday the 10th from 10 to 1, if folks are interested. And then just a follow-up reminder, Soil and Water will be having their tour next Thursday, the 16th. Make sure if you are able to attend, let me know so I can relay that on to Luke. Otherwise, pretty slow week for me last week.
Yeah,
So.
that's- and well-deserved slow week.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Wetter.
do you need some help on that AMC meeting? that we're hosting? Like,
I think we've got it
Like-
pretty well in hand. We've been back and forth with AMC for quite a while now. I think we got the logistics done, but if folks are willing, we'd certainly take the help in greeting folks as they arrive. I think that'd be a nice touch.
okay,
So if you were able to arrive at 8 or shortly before, I know commissioners always appreciate seeing their counterparts when these meetings are hosted, so.
okay.
Thank you. Mr. Ketchmark?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, one item is the Fair Board met last night, and just more on what's on the agenda for next week with them is proposed improvements to the restrooms down there, which are permanent buildings that the county owns, and they want to do some upgrades with some hand dryers that are several $100s a piece. So they want to talk to us about the proposal if we make the purchase on their behalf, if we use our staff to install them, what the cost sharing would be. And so that was a big item last night with some other improvements that they have planned out there. So we'll go over that more next Tuesday.
Are we gonna have people from admin, our electrician, and that sort of stuff, be here for that discussion or have some information ahead of time?
I believe so. I talked to Clay about that and told him the updates from last night. So we do have the master electrician, and Alan has said that we do have the staff and time to install if that's the route that we decide to go. But I thought that it should be a board decision because it runs into several $1,000s with these air dryers for the unit and the labor, potentially. Because they're running on the low side of $600 a piece. And they want to know for their budget purposes, how many they could do this year, or should they wait and do them next year? We're getting close to fair time. What's the supply look like? But otherwise, everything's going well for the planning of the fair this year.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's coming right up. Mr. Delyden?
Yeah, when is the fair?
20th through the 24th of July.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in
Yeah,
there.
well, that's
It's- I always picked on Charlie to,
tradition.
to advertise that. The one thing that Commissioner Vetchett forgot about was on Friday, Bertram Chain of Lakes Committee met, and the park is being heavily used, both with the passive side that the county does, and the side with the ball fields, the football, soccer. They're holding the state tournament out there. I can't remember the dates, but stay away from there at that point because it's going to be really busy. The campgrounds are doing extremely well. There are only a few open dates left in there. They're renting out kayaks out there now, and paddle boards. So there's a continued growth out there, and people love it. It's being very, very heavily used. There's so many things to do out at that park, whether you want to go swimming or hiking or using the YMCA splash pad, the slide. There's all the fields out there and the campgrounds.
Are you still looking for a board member? Or that was it?
No.
We had actually a lot of applicants for it, so it actually,
Well,
Yep.
that's good,
Yep.
good.
we had discussion as well with the amount of people that are out there, well over 1,000 a lot of times on Saturdays, and in the hundreds during the week. The traffic issues of people getting on and off of 39 on Briarwood, and then also on Chelsea with there, and having to talk about long-term improvements that we have to work with the highway department that we either have to start forecasting out, because I don't see the traffic getting less, I only see it getting to be more.
Especially with all the tournaments they're holding out there. So, yeah, it's a very heavily used park.
And a lot of people discovered the parks during COVID, go to house clubs and they couldn't go places, and that's when it seemed like a real uptick with that. They're getting out and hiking and things, so, good. Anything else? Just a couple things. So a shout out to Princess Hart, who's an eighth grader at Buffalo Community Middle School. They had a Escape the Vape contest throughout the state of Minnesota, and she was first place winner with her. It was an animated video, and 33 seconds. So I watched actually all the videos. There was 3 winners, first, second, third in middle school, first, second, third in high school.
And this was statewide?
So her video was called "Vaping is Stressing You Out." So that was pretty cool. Get that information out for these youth to, one video was showing the different poisons that are, in the vape. It's kind of like meth. I mean, lots of poisons that go into making up these drugs. And just also on a personal note, my grandson is shoving off for basic training for the Air Force today. So all the best to him. But yeah.
Oh, and I failed to mention last week at your board meeting that it was actually your birthday last week on Tuesday.
Oh,
So a happy
Actually,
belated
it was
birthday.
actually on Sunday, but
Oh,
that's
okay. But again, I failed to mention
That's
that,
okay.
if you want, we can sing you a belated happy
that-
birthday.
Yeah, I can hear it in my heart. So
Okay.
how did I not have that on my calendar?
Thank you for not making us sing.
thank you. Well, if there is nothing else to come before the board, we are adjourned at 9:57. Thanks, everybody.